I'm soaking like a sponge here, Matthew, honestly, man, because you got all this experience. So I'm just like, man, I got these questions that keep popping up when I hear you talk. And like one that's really hitting me is, how do you balance, especially at a younger age, discipline of a sort, right? But also keeping things so that they can come to you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes full sense, Trevor. And here's what happened. So I didn't get back this far, but when I was 17, I found out my then girlfriend was pregnant. 17. So I was in high school. Didn't do anything crazy. I wasn't out wiling, so the kids like to say. I was just, got caught up in a moment, right? And that moment had some serious consequences. So when you're that young, all you can parent is from what you've been taught. Now, thank God that I didn't come from an abusive alcoholic, because I would have probably went that route, right? But the father that I came from was the kind, like, man, I think I got one spanking from my dad. My mother was a disciplinarian. I couldn't even count the backhands and whippings I got from her because she was serious. But my dad, I think I got one spanking, and he tells me about it when I was about 2 or 3 years old. He already told me about it when I was about 2 or 3 years, that he had to give it to me then. But you have to, when you're that young, you parent the way that you were taught to parent. So if you had a dad who was, he was just a no fuss disciplinarian kind of dad, that's what you will be. That is exactly. Now at my age, my younger kids, they get a different version of me. They get a more relaxed version of me, but I'm still the same dad I was at 18. I am now at 50, but I'm just much more relaxed. Like my oldest says, we would have never been able to get away with that, Dad, what my younger two are doing, or you would have never let us, go to a friend's house for 2 nights or go to a cabin with our friends, or anything. And that just comes with natural maturation, right? And as a father, I mean, I just grew up being a dad. I couldn't even tell you a time that I wasn't a dad. I was 17 when I had a kid. I've always had responsibility.
Yeah, man, that's not
always, my whole life. I've started my first job when I was 13 years old. I mean, and it was a real job. Like I used to go every single day after school to this job, and it wasn't a paper route. Okay. It was, working with a crew my mom was an administrator for a school. So I would go there during the summer. She would be working, and I would work with the landscaping crew. So they would go around doing everything, picking up everything, making everything nice. And they'd be in the schools fixing the lights. And, so I kind of started picking up on like stuff like that, like wiring and electrical and plumbing and all of those things. Now, my dad didn't do any of that stuff. Right? He didn't do, if it broke, it was broke. And he's picking up the phone, calling somebody. But I learned all of those things. And now my sons know how to wire. They know how to plumb. They know how to put in floors. They know how to rip down walls and replace. You
got them working.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
And you have them work on the business side of things too, I take it. Yeah.
I do. I have them. What I'll do, Trevor, is like I said, I'll find it might be a beat up house or whatever. I'll take them in the house right after we purchase. Actually, I'll take them over when I go over the very first time, and I'll be looking through the home, taking pictures and doing all that. I'll say, well, what do you think? Well, it's kind of small in this kitchen, Dad. If you knock down that wall, that's exactly it, son. That's going to force the appreciation of this house, probably $25,000 to $30,000 once we do that. Oh, okay. So they just pick it up. They just, you just generally feed it to them and they pick it up. And all of a sudden you have somebody who understands your business model almost as good as you do. We could be driving. He goes, oh, we're in a nice neighborhood. Oh man, that house, it's got the grass. It's got it looks like the roof is old. It looks like it's got overgrown trees, or look at all the branches on the roof. You ought to call about that house. You're absolutely right, son. That's exactly what I'll do.
That's awesome, man. You got all boys, man. I haven't heard any talk about daughters.
No. I got two daughters.
Okay.
Yep, one is 31 and one is 28. Both very successful. I could go off on a whole nother tangent of how proudly uh, I am of them, but both very successful. The oldest one, she lives in Cleveland, doing very, very well. My youngest daughter, she lives in Pittsburgh, just got married 3 years ago. Happy, healthy, and she's just now starting her doctorate program.
Oh, wow.
So I'm extremely excited about that.
It's fantastic.
They grew up flipping homes too?
No, no, that was all prior to me.
Yeah, that was your steel days. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was they you know what it was, Trevor? They grew up seeing dad go to work. Now, mind you guys, I used to work a swing shift. So one first week was, daylight shift, second week was afternoon, third week was midnight, and it rotated like that through the year. Right? So I
Mhm.
worked a lot of doubles. I lived at work because I was under the assumption and under the tutelage that a grown man to take care of his family steals time from his family and puts it with his employer so that he can make more money and inject that back into the family, which it's all messed up. It's all wrong. It's all convoluted.
God, that's
It's all convoluted. It's kind of goes back to when I talk about, and you hit on this, the education system, how in the world this ever played, but how the government did this. I'm going to let this 21-year-old kid, he just graduated from Columbia. He owes $190,000 back to this school. He's taken out 2 or 3 personal loans for 50,000. Now he's all in for $260,000. He's 21 years old. He has no job. He has no experience. How did that ever materialize still in 2024? That's how we run our educational system.
Going back a second, you actually just kind of had an extension to, kind of what we all recognize, you don't want to be trading time for money. That's why you want to be able to have staff and be able to, expand your business in such a way that you're not just trading time for money. But you kind of hit the nail on the head. You're not just trading time for money. You're trading your time with your family for money. You're trading your ability. You're trading your ability to parent for money.
Yes.
And not being around. You're taking the time that your family needs you to be around and be present and giving it to someone else and then giving them money, but not their father. So that's what you said, hey, that was earlier when you were, younger, and you changed that mindset on a go forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had to change that mindset because basically what you're doing is, my wife, she works a full-time job. And she's been at that job for maybe, I don't know, 18, 19 years. But what you're doing, she goes to work at 7, gets home at 4:30, but I would be gone, say I was gone. Now, what I've done is I basically made myself absent out of her life. Now I put all that stress of raising the house and running the house on her because I'm spending 12, 16 hours at my job. So she's already worked her 8 hours every day. Now she's got to come home. She's got to cook, clean, run boys places. And it just became too much. It's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not a fair scenario that we put our wives in. And we all do it because we feel like we are actually helping them by being absent.
That's, I guess, question, and I'd love to hear both of your guys' takes on this. We're right now debating putting our youngest son in daycare. And, my wife's pregnant with baby number 2. We're due in here in another 2 months. So it's coming up very soon.
Awesome.
And our son, we're so excited. And, and my son, who's 2 and a few months, he's new energy through the roof. I mean, like it is, literally him running full speed through the house, constantly. And there's almost even no walking.
How old?
And,
how old, Matt?
He's 2, he's 2 plus 2 months. So he's just over 2.
Yeah. 2 and 2. Yeah.
And, and we're, and my wife is so great about having all kinds of activities. She's got something planned for him Monday through Friday, which is awesome, but she's also 7 months pregnant. And she's in the 3rd trimester and she's doing fantastic, but it's also for her to be playing with him or chasing him or doing these things. It's a lot. She is very, very kind of like, I'll call it just thin on the extra energy to do these things. And, and the daycare thing has kind of come up in kind of the sense of like, well, are we doing it because we, need help with care, or are we doing it because we want him to get engagement with other kids, or are we doing it because, like, what are the reasons behind it? And my personal take is I actually want him to have a little bit more regular engagement. Now, my wife has him and all these things Monday through Friday, but when new baby comes along,
Yeah, man.
here in April, we're going like, hey, is that actually realistic to have that done? Because the daycare that we're talking about, it's actually very close to the house. It's so close that we can walk, and we're able to we don't even have to take him every day. So we could take him.
How does your wife feel about?
Well, that's kind of the reason I'm bringing it up, and both she and I both feel a little more concerned about not seeing him, and it's not long. I mean, we're talking, 4 hours a day kind of a thing. It's not much, but we both kind of feel like, we're going to miss him. That's going to be, us kind of missing him. And it's, and how do we both feel about it? That's the debate, because, not the best. We kind of would like to keep him, with us, but we also feel like, are we not getting him more regular social engagement by having him engage with other kids? And that's, and that's, I think, part of the debate, because, it's,
I think that's BS, man.
Which part?
The social aspect of it. I mean, I thought that too for a while, but I think that's nonsense, man.
Okay.
And I thought about it a lot too. And because my wife's the same situation. She was watching one kid. That was her run responsibility. COVID happened. She left work, and then our life transpired to where she never had to go back, which was great. She was, raising a kid, Monday through Friday. That was her job. And, the second one came, and it was like totally different. The things that our first child went through, like I saw it clearly, like, the firstborn child is usually the most successful in life, because they're the only one that had a period of time where the parents' sole focus was on them. There was no other child to distract that focus. And like I saw it, she taught our first kid sign language. What's that?
That's it? You think that they are more
I think that's part of it.
I mean,
I think it's part of it. If we're looking at broad stats, I think that's part of it. Being conscious of it, I think, could help change it. But, at the same,
when you say broad stats, you're right. You're right. If you just divide the number of hours, you have X hours in the course of a week.
Right.
If you have one kid, they get 100%. You have two kids, now they both get 50%.
It's some split.
So, no, I totally agree with you. It's just law of math. The other kids cannot get as much full dedicated time as the first one.
I mean, just as like one small example, my first kid learned sign language. The second one didn't.
That's awesome.
Didn't have. There's no time. There was no time to teach the second child sign language.
Here's the thing, though, guys. Here's the thing. You have a 4 and a 1-year-old. You have a 2-year-old, and getting ready. I was with my wife and I think our boys are 3.5 years apart. But here's the thing. My son, my oldest son with my wife, was her first child. So the 3 other I had all when I was very young, before I ever even met my wife. Okay. So I understand exactly what you guys are saying. Fully, actually. I actually lived in that spot. I remember thinking, man, there's all kinds of bad stuff that happens at daycare. Are they going to take care of my little baby?
Yeah.
Are they really going to? The good thing is my wife's school was here. The kindergarten, the daycare was right, maybe 2 minutes away from it. But we did put our oldest in daycare. I think he was 2.5. I think he was 2.5, 3. And my biggest drive to do that was I wanted him to, he was here at the house by himself with his mom. He was super spoiled. Like he needed to be exposed to other kids his age. I think I just wanted him to be around other kids his age, because he was, spoiled. His mom's first kid. He was on her hip. He was, and she and I remember when we had this conversation, the idea of putting him into Head Start or whatever, and that it was really the sole driver. Trevor, was basically to get him socialized with other kids, where he understands that I'm not the only guy in the room, right? For him, before he ever went, he was the main attraction everywhere he went. So that's the reason why we got him in early. And then very shortly after, once she had the second one, he followed suit as well. And I certainly see more. There was no harm. there was no harm in sending him.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
So Trevor, let me ask you this.
There was no harm.
I wouldn't suggest there's harm.
Well,
Yeah.
So Trevor, so on the daycare side for our debate right now, you just felt that the social engagement not necessary. You think that's not a big.
I don't think so, man. I mean, I got the confirmation bias going strong right now. I'm thinking of like the founder of Strategic Coach who grew up on a farm and would only interacted with adults until he went to school when he was 6. And as a result of that, he was just like years ahead of all these children who'd only hung out with other dumb children. Right. So like, I see benefits to both, but like, and in my situation, my wife, she participates in our business. So our children are around entrepreneurs all day.
Well, I guess that's the second question.
And I love that so much, they're just
but this
seeing
is my question. So for you and for your wife also, this is what I'm kind of, this is still our debate. Did you feel like your wife had enough time to take care of newborn baby when your older child was there and was in this, where my son is right now, where he is just I don't want to call him a terror because it's great, but I mean, he's got so much energy that we're just going, gosh, like, how do we bridge this? Because, I mean, we could bring in.
Are you asking me?
I mean, I'm just asking opinional. I mean, like, because in that topic, we're looking at,
it's hard.
At the daycare. We don't even have to take him daily. We could take him 1 or 2 days a week. But that's the question. Is it daycare? Do we get assistance at the house, or do we not need assistance at the house? And our idea that we are not going to have any time is just incorrect.
I know people who have au pairs. I don't really know how that.
I like that idea.
I mean, I like that idea too, Trevor. If I worked at home, I don't know that I would really want to give up that much time with some stranger with my kid, because now my kid, when he's crying in the middle of the night, he's gonna be crying for that au pair, not me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think we would have some. I mean, I'm not concerned about having someone in the night, and and that's something that I definitely, my wife and I both, we're both up with him.
Just a daytime nanny, that comes a few days a week for a few hours, and just helps.
That's probably our debate right now, where we're weighing the cost of
family close.
Say again.
Yeah, family close.
No, I mean, we do, but our family that's close. My father, he's 87. And so he's not going to be, doing a lot of the childcare, and my wife has family around, but I think I don't think it would be, I don't think we could set it up regularly. I don't think we could have an expectation of, hey, these 3 days a week, you're here.
Right.
And, and we have several friends who have, I'll call it, nannies who are on a regular schedule, 3 days a week or whatever it is. They have these scheduled plans, and that might be the better way to do it, so that we're always just still here present.
I like that.
And
it sounds like you're leaning that way.
We'll find out. I mean, I think that, this is literally a topic that we are discussing right now. So, we've been dragging our feet on it because I don't think we've really felt comfortable about having him enrolled in the daycare yet.
That's a big indicator.
And my wife and I, as kids, I went to a daycare when I was a kid, and it was a neighbor who had, I mean, I don't even know what it would be considered today, but man, there must have been 13 to 20 kids there running around, and it was
unregulated childcare.
Well, to be honest, it was in a small town, Carpinteria. And it was great. It was great. It's funny because I graduated high school with all of these kids that I was in daycare with as a 3, 4, and 5-year-old. And I remember it. I remember it then. And, and when we see each other in town, we always still have this kind of like we had this, from a very, very young age. But it was also a couple blocks.
You won't miss what you never had, dude. Your kid won't miss what he never had.
But the school that we're evaluating, it's different than what we had anyway. Literally, I'm describing a friend's, a friend of my mom's who had these kids at the house, and they all played together all day. The place that we're looking at, it's a school. It's a daycare school. Yeah. They've got courses. They've got these kids in there doing, it's a Montessori style program, which is very regimented actually. And that's not something I'm not sure I care about it as much. They say this. They say when you go to Montessori school that they view going to the school as a job. And that's something I know. I see both your faces. The same thing that I had, where I'm like, I kind of don't want my kid getting into that programming at this age. And that's why it's been.
You don't want them to hate. hate it.
Yeah,
He's gonna have 14 years of school. You don't want him hating his first year.
No, well, they don't. They say more. They view it as they kind of say they treat it as a job, but it's a little bit more self-sufficient in everything they do. So they have like one thing they do, then they clean up, from that particular task, and they go to the next task. So there's a lot of what they would describe as active doing of things, which I don't think that by itself is necessarily bad. As a male, I've got a very intrinsic work ethic. Now, my view of where that work should be spent has changed as I've learned about being an entrepreneur and whether or not I'm working to make someone else more money or working to make myself money. But I do recognize this kind of nature of, because even with your boys doing all their sports, boys need it. They need it. I can't, and I can't.
Boys and girls are doing.
Well, I wouldn't say the girls don't, but I can't speak from the experience level of a female. I can only speak from the experience level of myself, which is that if I am not busy, if I'm not working, if I have idle time, no way. My emotional state goes down, my confidence level goes down, all of these things. If I am not actively being useful and productive, I notice it on an internal basis where I go, no, that is not me. I'm a worker. I'm a productive member of everything I do, where I am working and hustling and making things happen. And that is, and that's something that I go, where does that start? And where does that, go for boys and for your sons being in school, in sports, when you were mentioning track and basketball, and what were the sports you named several? They were very engaged.
We got track, basketball, soccer, baseball, football, everything. They do everything. They don't do golf or tennis.
And all of those things, well, they might be, I'll call it leisure in the sense that they're not getting paid for them yet. Those are things they are working. They are working towards accomplishments. They are being productive. They have effort. They have a regimented schedule where they're going to practice. They have competitions, which they need to make wins. And they have all these things that are building them. And those are things that I want to make sure that my son and daughter are engaged in, where they get those confidence-based wins based on work that they have achieved. Work that they have.
So does this daycare have a flag football team?
Tennis. I'm making a joke.
I like tennis.
when we got there, they had the kids. They were already doing things, is my point. They were already doing activities. On the counterbalance of just what we do with our kids, my wife takes my son to something every single day. He's got gymnastics. There's a nature center, it's an education center. She's got him enrolled in another mom group where they do these fun activities. We're going to start him here soccer here very soon on a Saturday, which I'm looking forward to, because that's going to be with me taking him to go do that. But 5 days a week, my wife has him in something that she is there with him, where he's got a different skill he is learning, even starting at this age. And
ask you this though, Matt, real quick. What happens when your wife starts to get a little tired?
That's what we're working through. That's what we're trying to figure out right now.
Yeah.
And she will get to her wit's end. Like, I can only get down and be on the floor. I'm doing this so much, she still needs her friend group and wants to be around other other grown-ups, so to speak. She doesn't want to always talk baby talk all day.
Yeah, I know it. We talk about it frequently, where I'll be spending time with my son, and I love him and I love it, but I also go, wow, like it's a little taxing.
Hard.
Well, it's hard when it's when you have to maintain it for a long period of time, because we've got things to do, and you're playing at the level of a toddler. And, and that way, you can engage for it long enough. But yeah, you kind of nailed it on the head. There's this kind of point where there is burnout. There's this
total burnout.
Girls are so easy, man.
Girl daughter different than the boy.
Right now, Trevor, you wait till she's older and she gets
to change.
I myself, I would
have a plan for that. I keep hearing the same thing, and I got a plan, man.
But they come to you, Trevor, and you're like, well, listen, I told you to clean your room, and then tears. And then it's like, and it's just like, it's different. It's a different conversation with the boy. Son, I told you to go in there and clean your room. And he understands that if I have to tell you again and again and again, then we're going to have to escalate, right? Girls, they'll get you right off the bat. Hey, honey, I see you're sitting here on a nice Saturday morning. Could you go in there and clean your room? Oh my gosh. And it's just theatrics.
Baby.
I promise you.
Oh,
baby
man.
Hey, girl, are you really?
Yeah.
Good for you.
I know.
Good for you.
I know. It's great.
So yesterday I got to tell you, it was a win for me. I just felt like, my wife went to go work on a property that we're working on, and she took the baby, the 1-year-old, and the 4-year-old stayed home with me the whole day, and she built a Lego set. Then she did, like, right next to my desk. She has a little desk, right? So she sat down at her desk and built a Lego set. Her first time doing it on her own, right? She asked she's done a couple Lego sets now. I'm trying to kind of get her into Legos instead of dolls. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit better. But anyways, then she did 2 rounds of Hooked on Phonics.
Oh.
Yep. And then I let her watch whatever she wanted after that. And, she interrupted me like a grand total of 10 minutes of my work day, and just otherwise just
stimulate it. Keep them mentally
just did her thing.
Yep.
Yeah, man. And I try to make it so, like, most of the day is do what you want, explore your tablet, whatever. I don't just spend some part of the day first, earn it with some, like, build something, follow instructions and build something, learn something, then you get the reward. And I just want to share that with you guys because, it was just a brief experience that I'm having, Max, with 2 kids. You're going to be in the same situation.
What Legos does she like?
She picked this one, and it's a horse stable. I'll show you the box.
Yeah, I got it. It's interesting. There's a book, and it's called
this is it. Lego Friends.
There it is.
Boom.
Okay.
Right?
I got you.
It's a horse stable.
It looks like it's for girls.
Got some girls in it. She likes girly stuff, man. She's a girly girl. It's got a lady here that's like clean. It's all girls.
Yeah,
actually in it. So
I've actually never thought about. I mean, hell, guys, they didn't even girls when I had my daughter. They played with dolls. That was it. That they played with dolls and the girly stuff. But I really like how they have made Legos and girl figures. When we grew up, Legos were boy toys. They were like G.I. Joes. They were like But I like,
and she goes straight for them. She goes straight for the Legos she like asks for it. She's like, I want those.
That one.
The ones with the girls. The first Lego set I ever bought her was a girl that ran an ice cream truck. I was like, build this entrepreneur, right? That's an entrepreneur right there. There you go. And she loved it. And ever since then, she just gravitates toward girls doing things that, she's about it.
Right. And instill that in her and, make her strong from the beginning. I like that. I love that.
That's the goal. Yeah, man. So and hopefully if I like take her hunting, maybe get her chewing some tobacco, like by the time she's like a teenager, she'll be a little bit more emotionally stable and like the boys are or something.
Oh, God. Where I'm from, I mean, I remember being in high school with girls, they'd have a big old dip in their mouth. Like, what the? That's very unattractive.
Really? Wow.
Dead serious. Yeah. Big old Copenhagen dip in her. Yeah, man.
What did they carry around to chaw in? Was it like a pink cup or was it like a
pink cup?
They just spit in the registers like the boys used to do back in school. We used to have these registers and the boys would spin them and the girls
the
did
spittoons?
Too. Yeah.
The ding.
Yep.
Oh my God.
My word.
Takes all kinds, brother. It takes all kinds.
Things have changed. Things have changed. Wow.
They have.
Mightily so.
So, Matthew, thanks for being on the show with us. This has been fantastic. Both hearing about all of your experiences from being, I'll call it a young dad to a dad with 5 kids to being someone who's balanced your work life, importantly in the way that, that you really made sure that you're spending time with your family and being there. And you shared some really wonderful stories about, interactions with your kids, interaction with your wife. And I'm so thankful that we have you on the show. And people can connect with Matthew via Matthew. Please give us your website and your Instagram.
Sure, absolutely. My Instagram is I am Matthew Roach, all one word. You can connect with me via my website, which is Guardian Homebuyers, the numeric 1.com. Or you can just search me under Facebook, Matthew Roach.
Fantastic. Matthew, thanks so much for being on the show. And we'll look forward to having you on again. And we'll hear more on the updates with you and your family here with the next episode that we have you on.
Love it, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the knowledge bombs, dude.
Really awesome.
Awesome, man. Thank you.